Is this your new hobby? Daniel asked, flipping through my pitch deck with the attention of a man reading a lunch menu. I didn't look up from my plate. It's a growth plan. MHM. He paused on the third slide. Tam, Sam, Som. Look at you, speaking VC now. I smiled tight. I've always spoken it. You just didn't listen. He snorted. Actually snorted. A short, clipped burst of air that felt like it had cut into my skin. Cute hobby, he said, and pushed the deck aside like it was junk mail. My fork hit the porcelain louder than I meant. I stared at the salmon, pink and soft under warm light, and suddenly couldn't remember what it tasted like. Say something, he said, like he was bored already. I lifted my eyes. You've seen the revenue projections. We're nearing 6 figures monthly. And you think that's impressive? Compared to the $0 you made the first 2 years of your startup. I kept my voice level. No rise. No tremor. Just facts. He grinned, the way a man does when he thinks he's about to explain something important. I had vision, babe. Yours is practical, solid, but it's not changing the world. And yours almost bankrupted us. He chuckled, then reached for his wine. Relax. I'm joking. Were you? I know you've put a lot into this. He added, voice tilting softer, as if that could round the edge he'd already buried deep. And I'm proud of you, in my way. It's just not. He searched for a word, eyes flicking toward the deck again. It's not real business, you know. I see, I said. No, you don't, he replied quickly, trying to clean it up. It's just look. When I started Stratus, I was pitching to Sandhill guys. You're selling subscription boxes to mothers, nurses, teachers, caregivers, women who want their homes to smell like something other than exhaustion. I leaned forward, elbows lightly on the table. I solve problems that actually exist. You sold a cloud platform to people who never asked for one. He tilted his head. Now you're being mean. No, I said quietly. Now I'm being accurate. The silence that followed was strange, not heavy, hollow. He reached for the salad, like nothing had happened, and I watched his fingers brush the edge of the tongs with perfect ease. He didn't know he'd lost me. Not yet. Later that night, I stood at the sink rinsing plates, the overhead light casting long shadows. I could hear him in the next room, laughing at something on TV. A sitcom. Always the same cadence. Setup, punchline, laugh track. His voice joined it. Laughter on top of laughter. Cute hobby. I closed my eyes. Let the water run until it scalded. He hadn't looked at me when he said it. That mattered. Not the words. The dismissal. The reflexive disdain. He hadn't even meant to be cruel. That was the part that lingered. Not hate. Indifference. When I finally slipped into bed beside him, he was already turned away, scrolling his phone, face lit blue. I watched his back rise and fall. The faint outline of the man I'd once admired. Night, he said, not looking up. I didn't answer, just closed my eyes and rewound his laugh, over and over, until it didn't feel like sound anymore, just a fracture, a fault line. He slept easily. I didn't sleep at all. By morning, I'd buried it, or tried. The eggs sizzled in the pan, and I focused on that small control, small noise. Daniel strolled in wearing his usual Monday smirk, an unearned sense of peace. Smells good, he said, kissing my cheek like nothing had shifted. You're too good to me. I slid the eggs onto his plate, met his eyes. You think I should Stop working on the business. He blinked, surprised. What? Last night. You said it wasn't a real business. I said it was a hobby. That's different. Is it? He frowned, half laughing. You're taking that seriously. I take most things seriously, especially the work I spend 80 hours a week on. He poked at the eggs. Jesus, you're really upset. No, I said. I'm clear. He dropped his fork. Here we go. You always do this. One comment, and suddenly I'm the villain. I'm not calling you anything, I said. I'm listening. To what? To the parts of you that come out when you're not pretending. He leaned back, arms crossed. So now I don't support you, do you? He stared. I gave you the seed money. You wrote a check. Then you tuned out. Oh, come on. I placed my coffee down carefully. You don't know our top 3 products. You've never met a supplier. You think a fulfillment API is that shipping thing, but you call it our company. Why? He stood slowly. I'm done with this conversation. I nodded. Of course you are. He left the kitchen. The silence afterward was loud, like a room inhaling. That afternoon, I met Carla at Groundhouse Cafe, the one with the navy walls and the silent baristas. She leaned forward before I even sat down. You look like you haven't slept. I haven't. She tilted her head. What happened? I sipped my latte before answering. Daniel laughed at my pitch deck. She blinked. Laughed. I nodded. Why? Said it was a cute hobby. Her mouth set into a thin line. Did you stab him? I almost smiled. No. Why not? I was too busy watching the last of my respect for him dissolve. Carla stirred her coffee. I'm sorry. I'm not. It clarified things. You're serious. Deadly. She reached across the table and touched my wrist. What are you going to do? I looked her straight in the eye. Everything he thinks I can't. She didn't speak, just nodded, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something sharper than grief focus. It followed me. That sound, sharp, careless, curling in the back of my mind like smoke that wouldn't clear. I heard it brushing the edges of investor calls, echoing between sentences, trailing behind compliments that sounded too surprised. I'm impressed. One of them had said over Zoom, "You've got a good handle on ops." Good handle, as if I were balancing something too big for me. Back in the office, I stared at the whiteboard I'd filled that morning. Quarterly growth targets, churn percentages, supply chain tweaks. Everything clean, mapped, accounted for. Everything I'd done while Daniel watched football and called it a break. My fingers tightened around the marker. Cute hobby. You're thinking too hard, Carla said, nudging a ginger cookie toward me. I blinked. We were at my kitchen island. She'd brought pastries from Morley's, the expensive bakery she knew I liked. You ever realize something was broken weeks before you let yourself say it? I asked. She sipped her coffee. All the time. I keep hearing him laugh. I'd be hearing a judge sentence him. I almost smiled. She leaned on her elbow. He doesn't get it. Does he? No. I said. He doesn't even know he broke something. Worse, she said. He thinks he built it. That landed harder than I expected. Later that night, I watched Daniel talk on the phone. Loud, casual, confident. He paced in his office, glass of scotch in hand, the door half open. He always left it that way, made him feel accessible. I told them we'd scale by Q3, but honestly, they don't even get the platform. It's like, no offense, these founders have no vision. They're just running Etsy on steroids. He laughed. Deep, warm, familiar, my stomach clenched. He used to laugh like that with me now. He laughed at people like me, at women who built something from instinct and spreadsheets. I turned away and walked upstairs, shutting the bedroom door quietly. I sat at my desk and opened the old files, year 1 reports, onboarding decks, vendor lists. The beginning, when it was just me, a used laptop, and a dozen blind emails to fragrance labs. I clicked through everything he hadn't touched. He'd given me $20,000. I'd turned it into $500,000 in product movement and to regional distribution contracts. He'd told our friends we were partners, but the truth was written in every sent email and every signed PO. He didn't believe in what I'd built. Maybe he never had. Carla called the next afternoon. You okay? I paused. Define okay. Sleeping, eating, not planning murder. 2 out of 3. You want to talk about it or pretend it's fine? Talk. Good. She exhaled. So, the laugh. It's still in your head. Yeah. And what's it saying? That he sees me as small. Lesser. That he doesn't think I'm capable of anything without him. She was quiet for a beat. Do you believe that? No. Then it's not the laugh that matters. I knew she was right. But some things, once heard, don't leave. They replay, quietly. They linger like a wound with no blood. At dinner, Daniel asked if I'd considered applying to a business accelerator. They're doing a women-led founder cohort, he said, chewing. Could be a good look. A good look. Optics. Diversity. That kind of thing. I stared at him. You think I should be a token in someone else's portfolio? I think you could use the exposure. I didn't blink. We landed to retail pilots last month. Did you read the report? I skimmed. Of course you did. Exposure. I repeated, standing up. Right? He looked confused. Did I say something wrong? I walked out of the room. He didn't follow. The next morning, I found one of his old Stratus mugs in the cabinet. I held it for a long second, thumb grazing the company logo. He'd failed that business. Lost half our savings. Burned 3 bridges with investors I later had to pitch. But no one called that a hobby. They called it a risk, a vision, a dream. My business, profitable and growing, was still something to belittle, to flatten into an afterthought. Cute hobby, exposure, a token. I placed the mug down, carefully, and I began writing a list. A long one. It started with everything I'd done without him and everything I was about to do. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. I didn't pack a suitcase or storm out the door. I made a spreadsheet, too. Actually. One labeled business. Actual. The other business. Claimed. I wasn't planning revenge. Not then. I was taking stock. My therapist used to say, clarity starts with evidence. So I gathered it. Quietly. Revenue per month. Signed vendors. Active customers. Subscriber churn. Product retention. Margins. Down to the cent. I didn't need to embellish the numbers. They were already damning. Are you working again? Daniel asked, leaning against the doorframe in his gym shorts. He always stood that way when he wanted to seem casual. It's 11:30, I said. He shrugged. You should sleep. You overdo it. I looked up. I know what I'm doing. I never said you didn't. You didn't have to. I closed the laptop and smiled at him. The kind of smile that says, we are not on the same team. He didn't notice. He walked off whistling. The next morning, I opened the second sheet. The one titled claimed. It was based on things he'd said out loud at parties, at brunch, at that founder's mixer in Montclair, where he told a group of men in Patagonia vests that we were splitting the load. He didn't know the load. He didn't know what the fulfillment center looked like. He didn't know that every single customer email for the first year went through my personal Gmail. But he knew how to say we. He knew how to accept credit. Carla and I met for coffee again. "How bad is it?" she asked. I turned my screen toward her. She read. She didn't speak for a full minute. When she finally did, her voice was flat. "This is everything. I know. You could take this to any investor. I won't. Not yet. Why? Because this is just a mirror. It shows me the truth. But I'm not ready to show it to him. You want him to guess. No. I want to be so far ahead by the time he realizes he can't even catch my shadow." Carla's eyes gleamed. "That's the version of you I love." I went home and pulled out an old box from the top of the closet. Inside were notebooks, day one lists, launch strategy scrawled in red ink, vendor call notes from when I was still juggling a day job. I found the receipt from our first scent blend. $1 for 180. Daniel had scoffed when he saw it. "That's a big gamble for a smell," he'd said. But that smell had become our signature. It had ended up in 2,000 homes by the end of year one. He never mentioned it again. "You're quiet lately," he said one night over wine. "Just thinking." "About what?" "The business." He nodded like it was a math problem I was trying to solve. "You know," he said, "you've surprised me. I didn't think it'd scale the way it has." "Did you think it would fail?" He blinked. "No, I just didn't think about it that way." I sipped my wine. I didn't mean anything by that. "I know. But silence speaks." And his had said everything for the last 3 years. I made a new list. This one didn't go in a spreadsheet. It went in a black notebook I kept in the drawer beside my bed. It had a different title. Mine. I wrote down every decision I'd made alone, every late-night problem I solved without help, every supplier I found, every customer I saved with a handwritten note, every negotiation I won by leaning in, not backing down, and under all of it, I wrote, "Let no one take this from you." I stopped telling him things. When I landed a logistics partner with better margins, I didn't mention it. When I automated the inventory pipeline and cut labor by 15%, I just smiled when he asked how things were going. He didn't notice the difference. He never had. At dinner, he said we should start thinking about what our exit might look like. 3 to 5 years. He said we could pitch to a strategic buyer. I tilted my head. "What exactly are you exiting from?" He laughed, a little too loud. "Our company." "You want to sell?" He grinned. "Why not? We built it. Might as well cash out together." I wanted to say, "We didn't build it," but I just nodded and poured more wine. Let him imagine. Let him plan. Let him stand on the foundation I'd built. Because the floor was already shifting, and he hadn't noticed the cracks forming under his feet. Are you okay?" Carla's question came casually, dropped between bites of her croissant like it wasn't loaded, like it wasn't a trigger. I didn't look up. "I'm fine." "You sure?" I nodded. "Just tired." "Don't lie to me. You're always tired. But this is different." I sighed. "What do you want me to say?" She leaned forward. "I want you to stop pretending like everything's fine when your voice sounds like sandpaper." That got a smile out of me. Barely. She waited, so I offered a piece of truth, trimmed and safe. He doesn't see me. Carla's eyes sharpened. What does that mean? It means he talks like we're partners, but he doesn't know what I do. He doesn't even ask. He assumes. She tilted her head. Assumes what? That I'll keep succeeding. Quietly. Neatly. Gratefully. Carla leaned back, crossed her arms. And will you? No. That part came easily. That night, I stood in the bathroom, brushing my teeth, staring at the woman in the mirror. Hair pulled back, skin dull, eyes alert. I rinsed and put down the toothbrush. You're lying, I said out loud to myself. The woman in the mirror didn't flinch. You told Carla you were just tired. You're not. You're done. Still, no blink. No reaction. I leaned closer. You've been shrinking for years. The truth sat in my chest like a stone. Daniel walked in behind me, half smiling, towel around his neck. All yours, he said, gesturing toward the shower. I nodded. He paused. You good? I'm great. Okay, he said, already distracted. Big pitch tomorrow. Wish me luck. I did not. Back in bed, I stared at the ceiling while he scrolled beside me. He laughed once quietly at something on his phone. I wondered if he'd ever laughed at something I built. Really laughed. With admiration. With belief. I couldn't remember. That was its own answer. The next morning, I skipped breakfast. I walked instead down through the garden, around the block. No music. No podcasts, just air and silence and clarity. I thought about the first version of myself he'd met. The eager, curious version. The one who asked his advice. Took his feedback like gospel. Grinned when he said you've got guts. I'd outgrown her. And he hadn't noticed. When I got back, Daniel was in the kitchen. Hey, he said, sipping coffee. Did you send that report to the advisory board? I don't report to them. I am the board. He blinked. Okay, relax. I am relaxed. Why are you talking like this? Like what? He frowned. Like I'm a stranger. You're not a stranger, I said. You're just not my partner. He didn't speak, just stared. Then, is this about the hobby thing? I tilted my head. That's what stuck with you. I was joking. No. You were honest. That's what made it hurt. Daniel shook his head, defensive now. You're making something out of nothing. No, I said. I'm finally seeing it for what it is. He left for work without another word. I stayed home, pulled out the mirror from my drawer, the small, gold-framed one I'd kept since college, set it on the desk, sat down and stared. I said it again, softly this time. You let him make you small. Then I corrected myself. No, you let yourself believe him. My reflection didn't look weak. She looked patient, strategic, ready. I opened my notebook and crossed out the word later from the top of the page. Wrote in its place, now, ***. Daniel always said he backed the company. He said it with that smooth investor lilt, like he'd taken a risk, placed a bet, and now deserved a crown for it. But the truth was in the receipts, in the contracts, in the late-night Venmo payments I made to contractors he never knew about, in the half-drunk coffee on my desk at 2 a.m. While he snored in the bedroom. He put in $20,000. I put in everything else. Morning, he said, walking into the kitchen. How'd you sleep? Fine. He poured his coffee and kept talking. I've been thinking we should do a refresh on the site. Maybe reposition the brand more upscale. I didn't respond. Did you hear me? I heard you. Well, I set my mug down. Do you know what our 3 best-selling skus are? He blinked. I mean, the linen one, the amberwood, fig, morning slate, and cardamom wool. Oh, right? You've never said those names out loud. Daniel laughed, awkwardly. You've always been the details person. I smiled thinly. And you've always been the vision guy. He raised his cup. Exactly. That afternoon, I emailed Jordan Lynn, our company accountant. Subject: historical ownership. He kept it short. Hey Jordan, I need a breakdown of equity, investments, and active participation since launch. Me versus Daniel. Include cash input, labor hours, and any documented contributions. Quiet request. 10 minutes later, he replied, Got it. You okay? I typed, Perfectly. I met Jordan 3 years ago at a startup accounting workshop. He was quiet, sharp-eyed. Didn't talk unless he had something worth saying. I'd hired him because he didn't underestimate me. That alone made him rare. 2 days later, Jordan came to my office and handed me a folder. I opened it. Inside was everything: cash history, task records, meeting logs, charts comparing his involvement and mine, revenue against hours, input against ownership. The math was brutal. I'd done 91% of everything since month 6. Daniel had input on logo design, picked a slogan we never used, and attended for partner meetings. He was CC'd on most emails, rarely replied. I looked up. This is airtight. He nodded. I keep records. You know that. I did. Anything else? I asked. He hesitated. There's one thing. Go on. He wrote off a business dinner last quarter, but it was at Ember, and there's no calendar or client match. I blinked. You think it was personal? Jordan shrugged. Doesn't fit the pattern. I nodded slowly. Thank you. He stood. If you ever need formal separation analysis, I can prep it. That was the moment I realized I had options, real ones. That night, I laid the folder out on my desk and went through each page. I highlighted key lines. The phrase inactive partner repeated. He would hate that phrase. Daniel came in around 10, loosening his tie. I'm wiped. Long day. Just stupid. Finance guy didn't show. I had to wing the call. I watched him kick off his shoes. Then I asked, Do you think we should reassess our roles in the company? He paused. What do you mean? Division of labor. Equity. Who does what? He frowned. Is this about the site redesign? No. He walked to the fridge. You've always run things day to day. I don't micromanage. You don't manage at all. He looked over. Where's this coming from? I met his eyes. It's not coming. It's been here. You just haven't looked. I called Carla after he went to bed. I have the numbers, I said. She exhaled. How bad? He owns 50%. He's contributed less than 10% in total effort. Damn, I'm thinking of restructuring. Does he know? Not yet. She paused. You sure you want to do this? I'm sure I can't keep pretending. Then let me know how I can help. You already are. The next morning, Daniel left early. I stayed behind and laid out the files again, this time annotating every page. I wasn't building a case. I was building clarity. One column stood out. Strategic decisions made. There were 32 items under my name. Under his, 3. One of them was registered domain. That was the sum total of his vision. By noon, I'd emailed Alina Patel Carla's referral from her corporate circle. Her assistant replied instantly. Availability this Friday. Private consult. In person. I confirmed, then I stared at the numbers one more time and whispered to myself, history doesn't lie. It just waits for you to listen. Leah's dining room glowed with soft amber light, all dimmed sconces and decanted wine. Daniel was in his element, laughing just loud enough, gesturing with that easy charisma he wore like a tailored coat. And then I told them, he said, swirling his glass, you don't build a lifestyle brand by playing it safe. Laughter. Around the table, heads nodding, I watched him from across the candles. Marcus leaned toward me. You must be proud. I smiled. Of what? He chuckled. Of Daniel. The company. You two are killing it. I lifted my glass. We are. But inside, the laugh I didn't let out sat lodged in my throat. Leah brought out the duck. Marcus poured wine. Conversation shifted to funding rounds, market trends, someone's acquisition gone wrong. And then Daniel steered it back. To be honest, it was her idea, he said, pointing at me. But I brought the structure. Without that foundation, we wouldn't be here. Carla shot me a glance. I said nothing. Daniel continued. I always tell founders don't marry someone who doesn't have business instincts. She's sharp. Keeps me on my toes. Keeps me. Owns me. Labels me. Carla's hand brushed mine under the table. A small signal. I nodded once. After dessert, Leah led the women into the kitchen while the men loitered around the fireplace. So how are you, really, doing? She asked, drying a wine glass. With what? Running things. Balancing it all. I shrugged. It's a company, not a child. Still, must be hard when Daniel's busy with his own stuff. I tilted my head. He's not. He works. With me. Leah blinked. Oh, I didn't realize. Carla stepped in. It's easy to miss. He talks more than he contributes. Leah gave an awkward laugh. He's just confident. Confident enough to take credit for a business he doesn't run, I said, rinsing a plate. No one answered. Later, as we slipped on coats by the door, Daniel kissed Leah on the cheek. Beautiful night, he said. We should host next time. You should, she smiled. We'd love to see the full operation. Maybe tour your warehouse. He froze for half a second. Definitely. Just need to check with. He glanced at me. Her. That's what I'd become. A function. A backstage pass. I smiled back. We'll see what the founder says. Marcus laughed, unaware. You two are such a team. In the car, Daniel drummed the steering wheel. That went well. It did. You were quiet, though. I was listening. He looked at me. You okay, Peachy? He laughed. No one says that anymore. I turned toward the window. That's because no one means it. The next day, Carla came by the office. You were good last night, she said, folding herself into the chair across from my desk. Good? You didn't flinch. I don't flinch anymore. Carla opened her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. Jordan sent this. Updated partner logs. Just in case. I took it. Thanks. Daniel doesn't see it coming. I know. You okay with that? I looked up. Would it be better if he did? Carla shook her head. No. Just checking if you're at peace with the slow knife. I was. That night, I walked into Daniel's office. He was on his laptop, writing something that looked important but probably wasn't. We need to go over the warehouse contract tomorrow, I said. He nodded without looking up. Which one? Southwest Distribution. They sent a revised quote. Cool. Send it over. I already did. He clicked something, distracted. You're killing it, babe. I'll skim it later. I didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say. The mirror in our bedroom caught me on the way to bed. I paused and stared not at my face, at my posture. I was standing like someone who didn't belong there anymore, not in the room, not in the shadow, not beside the man who'd turned partnership into performance. Daniel called from the bed. You coming? I nodded, but I stayed there a few seconds longer. Let the truth settle in. Let the silence speak louder than his laugh ever had. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I wasn't looking for anything. It was just an ordinary Tuesday. I was clearing my inbox, flagging invoices, answering supply updates, scanning client feedback. My hand hovered over the delete key. When I saw it, FWD, strange conversation. Thought you should know from Sandra Bell. My pulse didn't change. My face didn't shift. But something inside me stilled. I clicked. Hi, redacted. Just had an odd call with Daniel. He said we might want to direct future sent orders through a new platform he's building. Said you were moving into a consulting role soon. Wanted to clarify. Sandra, I stared at it, then read it again, then a third time. The air around me thickened. He was using our contacts, my clients, quietly rerouting trust I'd built from nothing. No warning, no discussion, just a casual theft in slow motion. I forwarded the email to myself, archived the thread, took a screenshot, then I closed my laptop, stood up, and walked to the window. The city stretched beyond the glass like nothing had changed, but everything had. When Daniel walked in that night, he was humming, actually humming. Hey, he said, tossing his keys in the bowl. Traffic was a mess. I nodded. Dinner's in the oven. You're the best. He kissed my cheek. I didn't flinch, I didn't react. I just asked, did you talk to Sandra Bell today? He froze for less than a second. Sandra? She said you called her. Oh, yeah. He scratched his jaw, just touching base. She had questions about next quarter. Did she? He didn't look up. I was helping. That's what partners do. I stared at him. You're building something new. Just an idea. Nothing serious. Without telling me. He smiled. Didn't want to waste your time if it went nowhere. I nodded. Of course. He relaxed again. Walked to the fridge. You're not mad. I smiled. Not at all. He didn't hear the steel behind it. The next morning, I called Sandra. Her voice was cautious. Did I overstep? Not at all. I appreciate you flagging it. It felt weird. He was vague. Said the new platform would be more scalable and that you were phasing out. I was silent for a second. Thank you for your honesty. Of course. Your name's on every bottle we carry. I trust you. Her voice was warm. Real. It almost broke me. Almost. I started digging. His calendar was shared. Sloppy. I traced for coffee meetings with vendor contacts. 3 with logistics managers I'd negotiated with. 2 with back-end developers we hadn't hired yet. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I documented. Screenshots. Timestamps. Side-by-side comparisons. It felt like autopsy work. He was dissecting my business while sleeping in my bed. Carla called that afternoon. I told her everything. She was quiet at first. Then, you okay? No. Want me to come over? No. She didn't argue. You have a plan. I will. You want revenge. I want correction. Carla exhaled. Say the word. I will. That night, he talked through dinner. Some new podcast. A market shift. A founder he met who got it. I ate my salad, smiled in the right places. He never noticed I didn't say a word. Later, he tried to touch me. I let him. It felt like watching someone dance at a funeral. When he finally fell asleep, I got up, opened my laptop, and pulled up every client communication from the last 6 months. I created a timeline. Every call, every reply, every deviation at 3:12 a.m. I found the message that confirmed it. A logistics partner named Kevin had followed up with Daniel instead of me, referencing a streamlined version of your fulfillment plan. My fulfillment plan, my architecture, forwarded, rebranded, claimed. I copied everything into a folder, labeled it inheritance theft. Then I backed it up twice, cloud and local. I closed the laptop and stared into the dark. There was no more confusion, no more wondering if the man in my bed was stealing from me, not by force, by assumption. The next morning, I brewed his coffee like usual, set his travel mug on the counter. He walked in, kissed my forehead. "You're the best." He didn't notice my silence, or the way my hands didn't shake anymore. "Have a good day," I said. He smiled. "Always do." And just like that, he walked out, leaving behind the lie he'd built with my blueprints, leaving me holding the truth. And this time, I wouldn't drop it. Asterisk, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even confront him. I documented every name he contacted, every thread he rerouted, every file he opened without my knowledge, screenshotted, dated, cataloged. I didn't think of it as evidence. Not yet. It was simply a record. My history, rewritten by someone who believed no one would notice. He was wrong. He came home late that week. Twice. I had drinks with some of the guys, he said, dropping his keys in the bowl. Nothing major. I didn't ask which guys. I didn't ask what they drank. I said, "Sounds good," and handed him the folder he asked me to review. He glanced at the first page. "You already did it 2 days ago." He smiled like he'd trained me well. "That's my girl." I smiled back. He didn't notice my hand twitch. That night, I stayed up until 3. Not out of anger, out of precision. I studied him the way I used to study competitor brands, detached, analytical. I mapped his patterns, noted his distractions. He had no idea how visible he'd become once I stopped needing his approval. By morning, I had timelines. By evening, I had receipts. By the end of the week, I had a plan. I didn't need to break him. I only needed to make him irrelevant. At brunch on Saturday, Carla kept her sunglasses on. "Any updates?" "He doesn't know I know," I said. "And I want to keep it that way." "You're playing it cool. I'm playing it surgical." She stirred her coffee slowly. "Do you still love him?" I didn't answer right away. "Then, I don't even recognize him." Carla nodded. "That's worse." I didn't disagree. On Sunday, Daniel surprised me with reservations. "I thought we needed a night out," he said, brushing something from my shoulder. "Just us." I nodded. "That sounds nice." We sat by the window. The waiter greeted him by name. "I brought a founder here last week," he explained, casually. "Good guy. He's doing this app for." I stopped listening, his voice blurred. All I could hear was Sandra's email, Kevin's forwarded message, the silence between us growing louder with every course. "You okay?" he asked, sipping his wine. "I'm great. You've been quiet." "I've had a lot on my mind." He smiled. "I know that look. You're planning something, aren't you?" "Always." He laughed. "That's why I married you." And that was the moment I knew I didn't belong to him anymore. Not in any way that mattered. When we got home, he fell asleep on the couch. I sat at the kitchen table, lights low, laptop open. I updated the folder, labeled it Phase 1. Then I opened a blank page and typed 4 words. He will not win. Asterisk. Her office was high up, 32nd floor. Quiet, glass walls, and sharp corners. The kind of place designed for precision. Alina Patel didn't stand when I walked in. She looked up, assessed me in one glance, and said, "You're early. That's a good sign. I don't like wasting time." "Neither do I." She gestured to the chair across from her desk. I sat. "I'm not sure how this works," I said. "Start by telling me what you want." I opened my folder and placed it in front of her. "I want him out." Alina flipped through it slowly. She didn't react to the screenshots, the client forwards, the flagged vendor names. When she reached the equity split, her brow lifted slightly. 50-50. I nodded. He gave the seed money, 20,000. And since then, I've run everything. And he's used your foundation to build something in parallel. Yes. She looked up. Do you want to destroy him? I didn't flinch. I want him out. Alina nodded. Good. That's cleaner. She tapped her pen once against the folder. This won't be impulsive, she said. You'll need control, discipline, and time. He has legal rights, even if he's been ethically bankrupt. I understand. We'll start by documenting everything. Then we isolate ownership, restructure leverage, and apply soft pressure. Soft pressure. Contracts, clients, capital. I liked her immediately. By the end of the meeting, she had a list of next steps. Create a silent holding company under my name. Begin redrafting partner contracts for future rounds. Start moving voting rights. All quietly. All legally. All clean. As I stood to leave, Alina said, "You're calmer than most." I've been watching him for weeks. She gave a small smile. You'll be dangerous by the time I'm done with you. I already am. Daniel didn't ask where I'd been. He was on a call when I walked in, talking fast, animated. Yeah, she's got product sense. But I'm handling growth now. He paused, laughed, said nothing when I passed behind him. He didn't know the ground had started shifting. That night, over dinner, I asked, "Do you ever think about the long term?" He blinked. "What do you mean?" "The company. Us. How it ends." Daniel smiled. "It doesn't end. We scale, we sell, we retire. And if one of us wants out before that." He froze just long enough. Then, "You're not leaving, are you?" ***. I shrugged. "Just wondering. You'd tell me if something was wrong." "Would I?" I said nothing. He took another bite. "You think too much. You think too little." The next day, I looped in Jordan. We met at a cafe 2 blocks from the office. "I need your discretion," I said. "You have it. I'm restructuring." Quietly. With Alina Patel. His eyes sharpened. "She's surgical." "Exactly." He nodded. "What do you need from me?" "Shadow books. Every number. Every activity discrepancy. Build a wall of truth." "Understood." And, I added, "I need it clean." Jordan didn't blink. "It already is." When I returned home, Daniel had dinner ready. "I thought I'd surprise you." "You did." We sat. He poured wine. "Things have been good lately," he said. I nodded. "I feel like we're sensing again." I smiled. "I feel that too." He beamed, and just like that, he leaned further into the comfort of his own myth. The next week, Alina sent the first draft of the holding entity documents, one signature away from rerouting decision power. Don't rush it, she said on our call. He has to believe he's winning. He already does. Good. The longer he's comfortable, the faster he signs. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost, Carla called that night. How's our silent storm coming? Perfectly. Does he suspect anything? He thinks we're sensing. Carla snorted. Men and mirrors, always seeing what they want. He's about to see something else. There was a pause. Are you scared? No, you're allowed to be. I'm just ready. And I was. I'd waited long enough. I want you to help me lead the next funding round. That's what I said to Daniel over breakfast, pushing a glossy pitch deck toward him, bound in leather and crisp from the printer. His eyes lit up like I'd handed him a mirror. Seriously, seriously. He flipped through the pages, grinning. This is good. It looks professional. Because it is. He glanced up. You want me on the calls? Of course. He nodded like it was natural, like the ask confirmed something he always believed, that I needed him, that he had something I lacked. I stirred my tea. The bait was set. Later, in the office, I asked Jordan to set up a new data room. Name it Helix. Jordan arched a brow. Helix, because it spins both ways. He didn't smile, but he understood. Daniel took to the pitch like a man climbing back onto a stage he missed, polished his LinkedIn, adjusted his title to co-founder, head of growth, and started telling anyone who'd listened that he was raising capital. Let me take the front lines, he told me. I speak their language. I nodded. Be my voice. Then, he grinned, kissed my cheek. Happy to. He didn't see the blade under the silk. At the investor meeting, I watched him perform. He used phrases I wrote, metrics I calculated, narratives I built, and they believed him, some of them. He had charm, confidence, polish. But charm doesn't close deals. Numbers do when they asked technical questions. He glanced at me. I answered. Brief, clean, controlled. Still, he smiled like it was all part of his plan. Afterward, he slapped my back. We crushed that. We did. Investor, interest is heating up. I know. He didn't ask how I knew. He never noticed I'd already spoken to half of them the week before alone. Back home, he poured 2 glasses of bourbon. To us. I raised mine. To the future. He clinked and drank. I didn't. The next morning, I found him in his home office, pacing. Vanessa Cheng wants to schedule a follow-up. He said, I think we're close. She's smart. She loved the pitch. I'm sure she did. He looked pleased. I'll set the agenda. No need, I said. I already sent it. He blinked. Oh, I smiled. She asked for me specifically. The pause between us stretched. Then he forced a laugh. Well, she's your fan. Among others. At dinner, he asked if we should bring in outside counsel to prep for diligence. I already did. Who? Alina Patel. He frowned. That's Carla's lawyer. She's mine now. He leaned back. You could have told me. I just did. He didn't like it, but he smiled anyway. You really are ahead of the game. Always. That night, I revised the cap table, shifted shares through Helix, assigned voting rights, left his name in the corner, untouched. He would see what I wanted him to see, just enough to feel important. Just enough to stay blind. Let's talk. Value, I said. Jordan nodded, already setting down the folder. We were in his office, Blinds half closed, the air between us clean and clinical. I need evaluation that reflects contribution, not just equity, I said. He pushed the folder toward me. Already started. This is weighted by operational input, strategy execution, and intellectual property origination. I flipped it open. Charts, graphs, percentages in red and green. I ran 3 models. He continued. 1 based on hours logged, 1 on decision authority, 1 on direct revenue impact, and you own the business, functionally and structurally. He just owns paper. I looked up. And how does it look on paper? Jordan exhaled through his nose. Depends who's reading. To a blind investor. Equal partners. To a smart one. You're the company. Good. Is it defensible? Legally. With the right counsel? Yes. Especially if you buy him out at a value weighted to his actual contribution. Which is 9 to 11%, depending how generous you want to be. That night, I stared at the report in bed. Daniel was beside me, half asleep, scrolling. You working again? He murmured. Just reviewing. He turned away. You never stop. I smiled to myself. No, I don't. In the morning, I slid the report into a drawer. Then I opened my laptop and began a new doc. Exit options. Daniel. I listed. Scenarios. Voluntary buy-out structure with dilution forced removal. Via founder performance clause. Each had timelines. Legal conditions. Leverage points. None of them involved anger. Only numbers. Alina called at noon. I reviewed Jordan's data. She said, "It's clean. I want to proceed. You want to dilute or buy. She was quiet a beat. You want him gone. Not just quiet. Yes. Then we play it like a negotiation. He'll believe it's mutual. That it's strategic. It is strategic. Not for him." Daniel came home buzzing from a lunch meeting. "They're calling us a sleeper rocket," he said. "Vanessa asked if we're open to acquisition down the road." "What did you say?" "That we'd consider once we clean up our equity map." "Smart," I said. He didn't know how true that was. The next day, Jordan sent me the final model. I stared at the line. Recommended payout to inactive partner. $212,000 for $100. It was fair. More than fair. But not a penny more than he deserved. Carla met me that evening. We walked through the park. Quiet. "Are you ready?" she asked. "Yes." "You're calm. There's nothing left to be afraid of." She linked her arm through mine. "You're doing it." "No," I said softly. "I've already done it." Vanessa Chang didn't waste time. She walked into the cafe exactly at 9 a.m. Gray blazer. Flats, tablet in hand. No assistant. No small talk. Just a nod and a look sharp enough to slice through ego. I stood. "Thank you for meeting me." "Of course," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "I've been waiting for this." "Have you?" She smiled. "Your partner's been giving speeches. I came to hear the one who's actually running things." I sat. "Then let's talk numbers." I opened my binder and handed her the updated performance summary. She flipped through it without a word. "Clean," she said. "Efficient. No fluff. That's how I build." "And the other half isn't building anything." She looked up. I assumed. I tilted my head. "That obvious?" Vanessa shrugged. "He talks too much. Men who run companies rarely need to." "I want him out," I said. Voice even. Vanessa nodded. "Is he resisting?" "He doesn't know." Her eyebrows lifted. "You're buying him out without his knowledge." "I'm preparing the Stage. He'll walk off it voluntarily. She leaned back, visibly impressed. And you want me involved? Yes. I want strategic capital that understands what I'm building and why I'm the only one who should lead it. She considered that. You're asking me to back you in a private exit. I'm showing you the real numbers, the real work, and the real founder. The rest is just noise. Vanessa tapped a finger on the table. What's your offer to him? 212, clean. No strings. And what's his value? 9% of impact. 50% of entitlement. She smiled. Slow and sharp. You've already won. I just haven't told him yet. We talked another 20 minutes distribution channels, brand, architecture, future growth. Vanessa didn't nod much, didn't flatter, didn't overreact. But when she closed the binder and said, I'm in, I believed it more than any other investor I'd met. Daniel was in the kitchen when I got home, grating lemon over salmon. Big meeting? He asked, not looking up. Vanessa. Oh, he smiled. She's amazing, right? She is. How'd it go? She's on board. He pumped a fist. Knew it. I poured wine. She said something interesting. What's that? That men who run things talk less. He laughed. That sounds like her. I smiled. It does. That night, he called Marcus to brag. Told him they landed Vanessa. That we're finally in the big leagues. I sat across the room, watching him perform the. When I delivered, he caught my eye once, winked. I raised my glass to the illusion he still believed in. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The next morning, Alina called. She's in. Yes. Good. I'll prep the offer doc. We'll frame it as a strategic realignment. Language like vision shift, operational streamlining. And what will he hear? That I'm offering him a clean exit with dignity. And what are we actually offering? Freedom. For you. Later that day, Daniel walked into my office. We should think about titles, he said. Titles? For the board. You as CEO, me as strategic director. I looked up. Strategic director. He nodded. It fits. I'm thinking long term how we position this for future investors. I smiled. I've already positioned it. He laughed. What does that mean? It means the cap table's evolving. Evolving how? Let's talk tomorrow. He didn't like that, but he nodded anyway. That night, I emailed Vanessa. Subject. Final confirmation I've drafted the exit plan. Attached are revised voting rights and equity updates. Are you still aligned? Her reply came 7 minutes later. One word. Always. The documents arrived Thursday morning. Neatly bound. Printed on creamy heavyweight paper. Legal language tucked between business casual phrasing. I flipped through each page, reading slowly, letting the ink tell the story I already knew. Daniel's exit was camouflaged under the words equity consolidation, strategic partnership, and founder realignment. Nowhere did it say, you are being written out. But that's what it was. Alina had coached every line of it. He won't read it, she'd said. He'll skim. Ego makes people lazy. She wasn't wrong. At breakfast, I placed the folder next to his coffee mug. What's this? He asked, yawning. Just the latest docs for Vanessa's review. He flipped the cover. Should I sign now? Whenever. He pulled a pen from the drawer, barely glanced at the opening paragraph. I poured his coffee, watched the tip of his pen press to the page. Do I need to read all this? He asked, half laughing. Up to you. He Sign the first page, then the second. By the time he reached the last, he'd committed to his own disappearance. Later that afternoon, I met Alina in her office. "It's done," I said, handing her the sign folder. She didn't smile. She nodded. "Did he flinch?" "Not once." "Good," she said. "This isn't about revenge. I know. It's about clean exits. And you're outgrowing him." I already did. Back home, Daniel was on the phone again. "Yes, we're still aligned," he said. "Vision's intact. We're just tightening structure." He smiled at me across the room like we shared something we did, a history, not a future. That night, we watched a movie. He fell asleep 20 minutes in. I stayed awake when the credits rolled. I muted the TV and sat in silence. He shifted beside me, unconscious, unaware. I studied him the way you study a familiar object before letting it go, not with hate, with clarity. The next morning, I sent the final sign packet to Alina and CC'd Vanessa. No hesitation, no second guessing, just the simple discipline of finishing what I started. Daniel came into my office midday. "I've been thinking maybe we host a launch dinner with Vanessa. I'll check her calendar." He leaned in, touched my shoulder. "You're killing it lately." I looked at him, not the man I married, not even the man I once admired. Just a mirror cracked, distorted, reflecting only what he wanted to see. "Thank you," I said. He left the room, and with him, the last of my patience. He was buttering toast. That's what he was doing when I ended it. Calm, casual, scraping salted butter onto burnt sourdough like we were any other couple. On any other morning, I waited until he took the first bite. Then I said, "You no longer own any part of my company." He paused mid-chew. "What?" I repeated it, clearer. "You no longer own any part of my company." He blinked, as if I'd spoken in another language. "What are you talking about?" I took a sip of tea. "The documents you signed last week. The equity consolidation, the voting rights shift, the IP transfer. You're out." He lowered the toast slowly. "You said that was for Vanessa." It was. And it wasn't. It was for both of us. His jaw tensed. "You tricked me. I clarified things. You misled me." "No," I said, folding the napkin beside my plate. "You assumed. I just didn't correct you." He stood there, silent, for a full 10 seconds. Then, "This is a joke." I looked up. "It's not. You can't do that." "I already did." His voice sharpened. "You forged something. You had to." "No. You signed it." I thought. "Exactly," I said. "You thought. You didn't read. You didn't lead. You didn't contribute. You just signed." His face reddened. "I gave you the money. And I gave you the company," I said. "Built it while you played entrepreneur. Built it while you slept. Built it while you laughed at me. That's not fair." "What part? The legal part? Or the truth?" He took a step back. "You ambushed me." "No. I outgrew you." He grabbed the folder from the counter, the one with his copies, flipped through it frantically. Scanned paragraphs he didn't understand. "These are complex terms," he snapped. "I thought you trusted I'd keep us equal, even when you stopped being useful. You're my wife, and this is business." His voice dropped. "I gave you everything. You gave me $20,000 and a dismissive smile. I turned both into an empire." He looked like he wanted to scream, but he didn't. "Not yet." Instead, he said, "You'll regret this." "No," I said. "You will." He sat down hard, like the weight finally hit him. What are you going to tell people? That I made a strategic decision. That you accepted a generous exit. They won't believe it. They already do. He stared at me. You've been performing ownership, I said. I've been doing the work. This is war. No, I said softly. This was always peace. You just didn't know you'd lose it. He stood abruptly, knocking over the chair. This isn't over. It is. I'll fight it. I nodded. And lose. He glared at me, breathing hard. I didn't blink. He left the kitchen. I didn't follow. The toast was still on the plate. Cold, UNEATEN, just like the truth. Asterisk asterisk, he started with Marcus. I heard about it through Carla 2 hours later. Daniel called. Marcus, she said, voice low, said you blindsided him. That you manipulated the paperwork. I didn't react. What did Marcus say? He asked him if he was drunk. Then he tried Leah. Showed up at her office, uninvited, waving a copy of the contracts. He said, it was fraud. Leah texted me. I told him to read the signature line again. By the end of the week, he'd called 6 people in our circle. 3 ignored him. 2 replied with silence. 1 Sandra Bell sent me a message directly. Tell me you're okay, she wrote. I typed back. Better than okay. She replied. Good. I never liked how he spoke about you. Daniel stormed into the house Saturday morning, eyes bloodshot. You poisoned them. I didn't say a word. They're all siding with you. No one's siding. I said, folding laundry. They're just remembering. Remembering what? How you dismissed me. Talked over me. Took credit for things you didn't understand. He laughed bitterly. You've turned everyone against me. You turned yourself into something they couldn't respect. He stared at me. I built this with you. No, I said. You stood next to me. That's not the same. He slammed the door on his way out. I folded another shirt. Didn't flinch. Didn't pause. That evening, Carla came by with wine. Hell of a week, she said, pouring into heavy glasses. He's unraveling. He's also calling lawyers. I expected that. You nervous? No. Carla studied me. You're colder than I've ever seen you. I'm not cold. I'm clear. She smiled. Same difference. Daniel tried one last move. He emailed Vanessa. Subject: urgent clarification. I saw it when she forwarded it to me. She'd added only one line above his message. He's panicking. Don't worry, I trust you. His original email was long, emotional, desperate. He called me unstable. Said I forged documents. Said I manipulated investor relationships to sever him from the company he built. Vanessa had responded directly to him. Daniel, the paperwork is sound. The decisions were strategic. This conversation is closed. VC. On Sunday, he came home and threw a glass into the sink. It shattered. I didn't move. I was humiliated. He said, you were revealed. I made you. I stood. No. You watched me. He stepped closer. You think this makes you better than me? No. I said. This makes me free of you. He didn't speak for a full minute. Then, what happens now? You move out. Quietly. And if I don't, you'll leave loudly. Your call. He stared. I stared back. The silence was no longer his weapon, it was mine. That night, he started packing, no shouting, no sobbing, just the sound of drawers opening and closing. It was the sound of a man whose story had changed and he couldn't rewrite it anymore. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The new sign gleamed in the morning light, clean serif font, etched into frosted glass. Just my name. No ampersand. No compromise. I walked through the front doors slowly, heels quiet against the polished floor. People looked up as I passed, then back down, respectful. A few smiled tight, but genuine. Something had shifted, and they knew it. Daniel hadn't come in for 2 days. HR marked him as transitioned. That was the word Alina advised. Don't say terminated. Say transitioned. He left his keycard in the mail. Symbolic. Petty. Expected. In the elevator, I stood alone. No nervous breath. No mental rehearsal. Just silence. I walked through the executive floor like I belonged there. Because I did. Jordan knocked on my door mid-morning. It's done, he said, handing over the final ledger. I opened it. Ownership. 100% voting rights. 100% founder designation. Sole any reaction. I asked. He asked for a copy of the branding guidelines. Said he wanted to make sure he left things clean. I almost laughed. Thank you, I said. You earned it, Jordan replied, then paused. It's different here now. Different how? Quieter. More focused. I nodded. Good. I walked the floor that afternoon, talked to the product team, sat with customer support, thanked logistics for shaving 2 days off fulfillment. No one looked confused by my presence. They didn't see the co-founder's wife. They saw the founder. Carla came by around 4. Look at you, she said, stepping into my office. Executive glow. I don't glow, I said. I calibrate. She laughed. Whatever you call it. It looks good on you. We toasted with sparkling water from the office fridge. To clarity, she said. To sovereignty. I replied. I stayed late. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. It felt different now. Not lighter, but cleaner, like the static had cleared. Like I could finally hear myself think. Before I left, I paused in front of the sign again. Ran a finger over the glass. Just my name, no edits, no footnotes. Asterisk. The closet was nearly empty. 4 hangers, 1 navy tie, a shoehorn he always forgot he owned. The rest was gone, packed into 2 suitcases and a duffel bag. Wheeled out yesterday without ceremony. He didn't slam the door. Didn't leave a note. He just left. And I stood in the quiet, staring at the space he used to take up. I thought I'd feel something. Anger, grief, triumph. But there was only stillness. Like the air itself had stopped performing. I opened the top drawer on his side of the dresser. Empty, except for a receipt from that steakhouse he insisted on when he still believed impressing people mattered more than listening to them. I didn't keep it. I didn't keep anything. Carla came by that afternoon with tea and silence. Is it strange? She asked gently. No. She studied me. Not even a little? I thought I'd mourn it. And I already did. She nodded. Closure's rarely cinematic. No. It's quiet. We drank our tea slowly. The way people do when they don't need to fill the space anymore. That night, I walked. The house, 12 years of furniture. 8 years of marriage. One long unraveling. I stopped in the kitchen, where he used to make that burnt toast. The butter knife was still in the drawer. I didn't touch it. Not out of sentiment, just disinterest. The bedroom felt cleaner. The air, less tense. The silence no longer accused me of anything. I took out the last of his cufflinks from the small wooden box on the shelf. I set them on the nightstand in the morning. I dropped them off at a donation center. The clerk didn't ask who they'd belonged to, and I didn't say. The next morning, I slept in, no checking his schedule, no bracing for his mood, just sunlight on the pillow, the sheets cool and even. When I made coffee, I brewed 1 cup, it tasted better. At the office, Vanessa sent flowers. White orchids, clean, elegant, with a note. Every strong thing you did with grace. VC, I kept the card, tossed the envelope. Jordan stopped by late in the day. Everything's stable. Better than stable. He nodded once. There's breathing room now. There is. He hesitated. Are you okay? Yes. You don't look relieved. I'm not relieved. I'm ready. Ready for what? For the rest. That evening, I opened my old journal, the one I hadn't touched since the year we married. I tore out every page with his name on it, not in rage, with precision. Then I lit a match, watched each page curl and fade. It didn't feel like erasing, it felt like pruning. He left nothing behind but a shape I no longer needed to step around, and in that space, I stood taller, unobstructed, unapologetic. The new cards arrived on a Thursday, matte black, white embossed letters. I held one between my fingers like it was something alive, no title, just my name. That was enough. That was everything. I walked into the office early. The halls were quiet, filled with that reverent hum buildings have before people speak. The new sign was already installed, etched across the entry glass in tall serif letters. R. Saunders, nothing else, no and co. No initials but mine. Carla met me in the lobby. She pointed at the glass. Look at her. I did. I never thought I'd see it this clean, I said. She smiled. You fought for it. I built it. Same thing. In the elevator, I looked at my reflection. I didn't look softer. I didn't look harder. I looked mine. The day passed in clarity. Meetings started on time. Teams moved fast. Clients signed without hesitation. Vanessa sent a message around noon. New press release is up. You're the headline. Just your name. I read it twice. Not to believe it, to remember it. At 3 p.m., I walked the warehouse. AMBERWOOD fig. Cardamom wool. Morning slate. Our top 3 SKS born in my apartment, packed in tissue by my hands, now moving through fulfillment with the grace of a system I designed. Daniel had never stepped foot in this space, and now he never would. Back upstairs, I opened my drawer, took out the mirror, the small, gold-framed one. I looked into it, not searching this time, not correcting, just seeing. You protected her, I said softly. And now, I added, she leads. That evening, I walked past the glass again. My name caught the light just right. R. Saunders. No explanation. No apology. I pressed my palm to it. Not for sentiment. For confirmation. She existed. She endured. She owned it. Asterisk, 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 asterisk.